I rent a Tesla for $538 a week. Disgusting. I got a sneak peek at the tax form from a person who rents. Test the waters on a rental, then find a better business. You need to stop renting as soon as possible. That means you have to go to Facebook Marketplace and get a cheap Prius. That is better than being in a position to where you don't have a rental ever again. So a driver posted this, a Lyft driver. Fluffy9345 says, do not rent from Lyft. Just for comparison, I turned on both my dad's account at the same time. He got a ride for $16. That same exact ride popped up for me after he declined for $11.20. But then he messaged Lyft support. Here's what support says. Base ride earnings for express drive renters are lower than they are for personal vehicle drivers to account for renter costs incurred, such as insurance premiums and a lower deductible, vehicle service and maintenance, and roadside assistance. The actual difference in base ride earnings is approximately 17% on average, varies by market, and is subject to change. Weak. That is absolutely disgusting. If you don't have a car and you have to do a rental to make money, I get it. If I didn't have a car and I want to start rideshare, I still think that's better than going and taking out a loan. But there needs to be a high level of intensity and a high level of intentionality to get out of that car. You cannot get this car and do the minimum. You need to work every single hour that you can stomach and get out of that car as quickly as possible. A person who is down and out on their luck and has to rely on a rental, that car is not yours. They can recall it whenever they want, like Hertz did with their Teslas. If your ratings fall too low, they can call it back. You might not get enough rides to pay for the rental. They can call it back. You are in danger.
I'm in danger.
You need to save up for a car as soon as possible. I want you in a car in 3 months. That means you have to go to Facebook Marketplace and get a cheap Prius with 150,000 miles on it. That is better than being in a position to where you don't have a rental ever again. Even if the car doesn't work as well as you would want it to work, you can still deliver food. A rental is the worst way to be an Uber and Lyft driver, period. And as you can see, they are literally paying you less if you're in a rental, 17%. Your time is worth 17% less than if you were to have your own car. I feel like they're double dipping. I feel like the agreement should be, you get this rental, we'll treat you like a regular Uber and Lyft driver as long as you pay the rental fees. Because the rental fees are more of an upfront thing. Like, you know, it's $300 a week. I'm making numbers up. I don't know what it actually is. But for them to charge you $300 a week and then take 17% of your income for other fees and things, I don't like that. I'd rather you just charge me what the thing is straight up and then treat every ride I take like a regular driver. Elf says, this is exactly why you should not rent. You are paying someone to work for them. Think of how crazy that is. That is insane. The cost of the rental makes sense. It's not my car, but it makes no sense for them to take a cut above that. I just said that. That's literally what I just said. Iceman says, it doesn't make sense even if they paid the same. Most rentals cost north of $1K a month. You are limited to one platform. You are an employee without the safety of that right. Elves responds saying, because to them, you're not paying for service, maintenance, or depreciation like an owner. I get that, but you got to charge me for that up front. Don't double charge me. Almost $1,000 a month. That is way more than any car payment. And considering they probably get good deals on these cars, since they buy so many, they more than make up for it. That is another good point. I'm not paying $1,000 a month in maintenance. And that's not including the percentage they're skimming off the top. I can understand the cost of the car being in there, and then it maybe justifies the rental cost, but I don't think it justifies that 17% that they're taking away. So this person is kind of justifying it maybe. He says, yes, that $1,000 includes the rental company's car payment, which is the money they paid for the car. That's kind of fair. Then they have to make their profit. Rental gets thrashed a lot, so there is much more damage and wear and tears compared to someone's own car. I get it. Let me also put it this way for you. Something happens to a driver's rental, you return it and get another one. Something happens to a driver's own car, it's not that easy to replace it. That's part of the convenience you're paying for. Either way, a rental is a bad deal for the driver, period. I can side with this point more if I'm thinking I'm Hertz, you know, or Rent-A-Car or Avis or whatever car company there is. I get that. But when Lyft makes their money off of picking people up, like someone said earlier, you're paying them to work for them. So like, this guy has some good points, but some of his points get watered down when you consider that Lyft's main income is the picking up of people. If they don't have enough people to pick people up and they benefit from driver saturation, then they can turn this into what I would call a loss leader, right? For example, Walmart loses money on most of their products just so that they can sell bananas. I know it sounds funny. That's not a joke. What is Walmart's most sold item? It's gonna be bananas. Watch right there. Bananas are regularly Walmart's best selling item. I used to work there. So they have what we call loss leaders, right? A better example of this are gas stations. The gas station I used to work for, Parker's Kitchen, I was a district manager with them. We would intentionally lose money on gas just to get people to our stores so that we can sell them food, which has a high margin. We'll take a loss on the gas to make a higher margin on the food. If Lyft breaks even on these rentals, they will still make money by not having to pay out more surges. By increasing driver demand, there's less surges in the area. That's a benefit for them. Even the CEO, I have a video where in a call, he said that his goal is to lower surges by saturating driver market. That's supply and demand. They could get away with that. Let's break even on these cars, make a little money so that we can make money on picking up passengers and save money on bonuses. That's how I would have gone about it if I were in this scenario. But I just feel like they're double dipping, which is why I feel like his argument's a little watered down. So maybe this person agrees with me. You need to think a little better on this. $1,000 a month when you're most likely can grind 3,000 miles, no problem in that month. They technically are taking a loss at a certain point, so I can't blame them for wanting to make a way to control the bleeding. I don't know about that. All this being said, the answer is simple. Test the waters on a rental, agreed, then find a better business, agreed. The rental should only be a temporary thing, similar to rideshare. Rideshare should only be a temporary thing. Agree with all of that, all of it. I got a sneak peek at the tax form from a person who rents. If you want to show your appreciation for me being on top of important news and getting it to you in a way that matters as quickly as matters, please hit the thumbs up on this video and please consider subscribing. Thank you. We're going to dive a little deeper into why you need to stop renting as soon as possible. It says, in the initial 3 months with Lyft, it seems I didn't earn any income. Can someone provide a breakdown for me? So here's the form. Here's what it looks like on Lyft. He did 782 rides. He had 0 online miles from January to June. And then he had 6,685 miles from July to December. He said he drove for what? 3 months. So he was hustling. He was pushing. He was doing his thing. So his ride payments comes in at $14,542. His non-ride earnings, which is like things like bonuses and referrals, if he got any of those, is $2,215.19. He paid $4,643.84 to platform fees as someone who rents. He paid $2,023 in service fees as someone who rents, $1,073 as in third-party fees. He paid $52.70 in express pay. Guys, I know times can be rough, but just wait for the weekly payout. At $52, was it 80 cents? Or we'll just call it $1. He cashed out early over 50 times. That's a lot. Either get the Lyft debit card, which gives you better percentage back on your gas. If you're a platinum driver, you get 7% back, and gas is if you have a responsible car, gas should be your biggest expense. Your gas bill should be bigger than your car bill. If your car bill is bigger than your average gas bill, not average, but your lifetime gas bill for that car, you have too much car. Unless you're doing like XL or whatever. But if you're just driving a regular 5-seater and the car is more than your gas bill, you need to downsize your car. So he also paid $5,048 in express drive rental fees. And then he paid $8.10 in tolls. So he made $14,500 plus, we'll call that $2,200 for a total of $16,700 in 3 months. That's not bad. He really was working it. He was really trying and hustling out there. Let's subtract platform fees, $4,600. So we'll do the service fees. We'll call it $2,000. We're gonna the $52. He didn't need to do that. So before we talk about how much he spent on the rental, there's no way he spent $5,000 in 3 months on a rental. There's no way. Maybe it's more than 3 months. We'll do that math in a second. So before we take out the rental, the express drive rental fee, he made $10,000, right? In 3 months, what is he averaging? $3,000 a month? Not great, not worse. He definitely could do more depending on his market. But then we subtract the $5,000 that he spent for the rental, and all he has left is $5,048. $5,048. And he can't write off his mileage because it's not his car. He can write off the car rental fee, but okay, so for those of you who are renting, like pay attention to what I'm about to say. This is important. Rideshare drivers make their money on deductions. The government allows us to write off this year, 2024, I believe it's 67 cents per mile. So in the government's brain, they think that we spend 67 cents in expenses for every mile that we drive. If you run your business cheaper than that, the difference is tax-free. I'll use my spreadsheet as an example, which I regret closing. This is my expenses per mile, right? 13 cents per mile. It'll probably go up to like 20, maybe 30 cents per mile. But if the government allows us to write off 67 cents per mile, right? Let me get the calculator. So I show you some American math. All right, that's good enough. So 67 cents per mile, 0.67. And my current expense per mile is 13 cents. So we subtract 0.13. That means for every mile Tristan drives, I can make 54 cents in tax-free dollars. Whatever dollar I made making that amount is tax-free. And that's where drivers really and truly make their money. When you're renting a car and you can't write your mileage off, you're not doing very well. So don't do this long term. The only way a rental is worth it is if you're like hustling, like you're working as many hours as you can stomach and you have a clear end goal and date to get out of that rental. Like that's the only time it's worth it. So let's see what the comments are saying. Customers paid you about 17K. Lyft took about 12K. You made about 5K. Math checks out. According to this, you made around 4K before gas. That is a great point. We didn't even think about the amount of money he's paying in gas. I spend about 10%, right? So if I make $4,000, I spent about 400 in gas to do that. I'm getting a little better at that, but let's, for sake of math, let's use that 10%. So if he made 4K, his numbers are harder to calculate because he has that Lyft rental fee in there. But if we remove the rental fee, then he made about what, 10K? And then 10% of 10K is 1,000. So he would have spent $1,000 to make 4K. So he's only walking away with 3K. Rough estimations, gonna vary. Gas is cheap where I live. He could be in California where it's more expensive. There's gonna be variations here, but this is rough math because we don't have the information. That's really bad. He could have rented a Tesla, which if you charge at a supercharger, it can be as expensive depending on the car that you compare it to. Like a Prius on gas is cheaper than a Tesla on supercharger. There's some things that can change how things are calculated. So, okay, I thought he said 3 months, the initial 3 months with Lyft. Okay, so how do you get 6 months? Dude drove for 6 months and made almost $4,000 before gas expense. What a effing ripoff. Oof, slimy, rude. I'm gonna cut him a break. He just started. FYI, about a year and a half ago, I rented a Tesla for $538 a week. And I was making between $1,800 and $2,500 a week. Did it for 2 months and bought my own Model 3 Performance thinking I'll make bank. Nope, it wasn't. They keep the rental busy, and as soon as you get your own car, they drop you. So this observation is something one of my rideshare friends made. He noticed that when he rented his Tesla, he felt like he was getting better rides. And he recently bought his Tesla and he noticed like it's not the same. He did it through Uber. So we were just looking at Lyft and we noticed that Lyft is taking a percentage out, but it's possible Uber's not doing that. Uber might be giving their renters better rides in order to make sure that they can pay. So it's interesting to see how different markets are doing it. I wish you met me earlier. I would have told you never buy that Tesla, bro. I think Teslas are great cars. I want one personally. I support the whole electrification movement for like long-term sustainability of Earth. But from a rideshare perspective, I think we should be getting the cheapest product that makes the most money. I know that you qualify for extra things like Premier, Black, or whatever. But one, I don't think rideshare drivers should be buying brand new cars. Like right now, there's a bunch of like Teslas that Hertz is selling for like 17 grand. I'd much rather you do that. But I think I wouldn't even buy a used Prius. Like I don't support new for this field. You let someone else. So